everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is Nana's Adventures. I'm here with my friend Daniel on another episode. Today
Hello.
we'll be talking about youth work. So if you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm a youth worker on Blackbird Leys. I work for Thrive, which is a project run by Oxford Community Church.
Okay, so going backwards, so this channel is about exploring people's careers, how they've ended up where they are at the moment, and any challenges they've come across and how they've managed to overcome or navigate or still working on. So going back, how did you end up here? Like before A-levels or...
Before A-levels?
Go back, what got you into
The whole
work?
story.
Yeah, whatever you're willing to share.
Well, maybe I'll start with university. I read English and history at university.
Is that what you wanted to read, or...?
Yeah, I did it because I was interested in it.
Cool.
I didn't have any particular idea as to what career I would go into. And when I left university, I drifted for quite a long time with no real idea of vocation or what life might be about.
When you say for a long time, a month, 2 months, a year?
Years.
Okay, right.
And I did all sorts of things which I thought might be good. And
So you kept yourself active,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I looked at agriculture. I looked at the wine trade. I looked at.
Were you good at farming?
I did do a bit of sheep farming.
Okay.
Fair bit of sheep farming, yeah.
All right. So many years, and then what? How did you land yourself in youth work?
I ended up volunteering in London in a couple of homeless shelters, and really enjoying the community of that, and also just helping people who were struggling look for work and housing, and getting to know them and seeing change in people's lives through this community that I was part of.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And how are you supporting yourself or funding that? Because I can imagine.
I was voluntary, and I had various jobs. Some of the time I didn't support myself very well. I was living at home.
Okay, fine. So
and I was, yeah. And I wasn't in a brilliant way in terms of working out how life should be done and supporting oneself, and yeah.
you're still figuring that out.
I was still figuring that out.
Okay.
And then I thought, well, I'm enjoying this, and I thought I'd get a job in it. So I ended up getting a job in a drug and alcohol rehab in the East End in London.
What did you have to do to qualify for that?
They were wonderful people. It was a Christian charity, and they took people like me who didn't necessarily know what they were doing, young, and helped us work out what we wanted to do with our lives. So it was as much for them about the residents and helping them change their lives as it was about the workers and helping them work out their vocation.
So more or less like a mutual.
Yeah, that's a very good place.
Okay. And so you did that, and did you have to go back to uni to do youth work? Like how did you get into?
From there, I thought, if you can, the guys that we were working with, I thought if they'd had people alongside them when they were younger, perhaps they might not have
Ended up that way.
And yeah, and so I thought youth work is a way of doing that. I'd done some youth work at church and with voluntarily with a charity, and I started looking around at youth organisations, meeting people, seeing what they did, and I came across Thrive, which was run by a charity called Vista at the time, whom we still work in partnership with, and they said, oh well, come and visit us, but also, why don't you think about our year-long part-time course in youth work and youth ministry that we're doing. So I ended up working part-time in London and doing this course part-time, and then a job came up at the end of it on Blackbird Leys with their Thrive team on Blackbird Leys.
Had you ever been in Blackbird Leys before then?
No, I mean I'd visited as part of my traineeship. My traineeship was in Abingdon, on their Thrive team in Abingdon. They had one at the time in Barton as well. So 3 places in and around Oxford, in disadvantaged areas around Oxford. Cool.
So in other words, you didn't have to go through a cookie cutter generic, go to uni, pick a course in youth work, and...
No, I didn't.
No, but is there such a thing for any of the audience?
Yeah, there is. There you can study youth work at university, absolutely, and spend 3 years doing it, and that's potentially a good thing to do. I mean,
does that give them an upper hand over someone like you who did not go that route, or?
It depends whom you're working with. Some people might require it. A charity such as the one that I was working for, or Oxford Community Church, didn't. They wanted experience and what one might call a calling to it.
Okay. Because I know some employers can be iffy when it comes to these things. You have so many applicants, especially in this pandemic. There's so many people applying for things, and they have to find a way to stratify or streamline the candidates, and sometimes they use these arbitrary.
When it comes to secular youth work, perhaps, maybe working for city council or other agencies, maybe that might be the case. I don't actually know.
Well, maybe something we can find out. Okay, fine. So in other words, you don't have to have gone to uni to get this done.
Certainly I didn't have to, no.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of people growing up, just like yourself, who don't know what to figure out, you end up being boxed into, oh, this is the path, go to uni, and then you finish and like, then what? You know, you end up with a degree, but you haven't got any experience, neither do you still know what to do, and life is passing you by, and expenses are coming up, and you're not getting any younger, you can't stay at home forever, and you know, adulting start mounting up challenges. So you've become a youth worker, and you're now working with young people on Blackbird Leave. Any challenges?
Yes, on Blackbird Leave or in youth work in general. Yes, the estate is what one might call disadvantaged. It comes in the bottom 10%. A part of the estate comes in the bottom 10% in terms of education in the country.
Wow. And it's Oxford. One would think that it's an affluent.
Well, that would be the case in a number of suburbs of Oxford.
But not all.
Not all, no. There are parts of Oxford which are fairly deprived. Yeah, definitely. And so the young people I work with, some of them are doing fairly well, and you know they might come from families who are quite loving and quite stable, and others less so. Perhaps single-parent families where the mother is struggling to bring up children alone, and yes,
it can get into a cycle, doesn't it?
It can do, and I find in the school as well that I'm involved in. I help with chaplaincy in a school, in a secondary school. The attitude to education and to working hard, and despite it being perhaps painful, isn't wonderful. And a lot of young people I work with don't seem to get the link between working hard at school and perhaps doing well and working out what they want to do later in life. I mean, young people don't. I didn't think about that at all. I had that attitude somewhat.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask you. Perhaps from your background or your experience in such a terrain where you had no idea what to do, but had some sense to still engage yourself and have some mentors or people around that kind of steered you in the right direction.
Yeah,
not everyone gets that opportunity.
Absolutely. In fact, I had some people, I'd say 3 key people in my childhood who steered me right. And without them, I think I might have gone pretty wrong. A friend of my parents who mothered me, basically. My youth worker at church, the youth pastor at church, who took me under his wing in quite an extraordinary way. He bought me a BMX and took me out BMXing with him and his friends, which was amazing. And another friend, lodger that we had, who said to me, "I think you need an older brother," and treated me like his younger brother.
It makes a difference.
It makes a massive difference. And what they did, I tried to emulate in my work.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
It makes
I often think back to them and what they did.
Enriched and experienced. You are able to approach it from a place of empathy because you've been there before.
Yeah. And the stuff I struggled with in childhood, I can see myself in some of the children I work with. Yeah, definitely. I hated school. I hated some of my teachers. I was shy. I was bullied. I got in fights all the time. You know, So the children at school who some of the teachers might struggle with, I struggle with as well, was trying to work out how to help them, because it's hard, right? I think I was probably hard to work out how to help. But the little things, who knows the impact I have, but I feel like it's about just being there, right?
Yeah.
And I often find treating a young person as though he or she were an adult and explaining why one's doing things and not talking down and not shouting.
Able
And
to reason with them properly.
yeah, and not raising one's voice, and that can be hard. It can be hard sometimes. And yeah, it's funny. Learning somehow to speak the young person's language, put things in the young person's terms, all things I'm not always brilliant at.
But it's a work in progress.
It is, absolutely.
And you
Yes.
get to learn more about yourself than you would think.
Yeah. How one reacts under pressure to
Test your patience.
to one's patience being tested, and whether I don't always feel as though I react entirely lovingly, and I have to pick myself up and say, right, okay, try better next time, and sometimes have to apologize to young people. But I found one particular young lad who I think struggles with all sorts of things at home and at school, feeling like getting through to him was hard, right? Any sense of conflict or where he might feel like, as it were, squared up to, right? He would respond in a sort of aggressive way. But slowly, as I've got to know him and seeing the way he interacts with everyone, and he's seen me not lose it with him like his parents might, or not be right down on him, you've done this, off you go now, like his teachers might. And occasionally one has to do that kind of thing a little bit. Boundaries need to be put in place, don't they? But just keep on with him and draw him aside and say, just work out with him why he's doing these things and what would help him not do them, does work. Yeah.
It's difficult when you have like a factory setting where everyone is just put through batches. Everyone's treated the same because they just want to make sure that everyone is the same A levels, everyone is the same,
And huge class numbers in class is
so trying
difficult
to
for
give
teachers.
individual attentions are always difficult for teachers, and unfortunately some people fall to the cracks.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's what I'm saying. If you don't have that support, someone to catch you. When I see homeless people, I always say to myself, you are 1 or 2 decisions away from being that.
Yeah.
It's just that. It's just 1 or 2 decisions that didn't
There,
go
but for the grace of God go I.
Absolutely. And it doesn't make you better than them, and doesn't mean that you might never get there. It just, take the opportunity to help someone out in that setting, because you can help them with one decision that will change your life.
Yes.
Cool. Now, the other question is about fulfillment. So this one, you have your the joys at work. Are there any challenges from a professional point of view? Some jobs come with big pay, big rewards, big financial incentives. Some are literally labor of love. If I would say, if you want money, NHS is not the place for you, because it's not about money.
Nor youth work.
So that's my question to you.
More ministry in general, really.
Okay, so I guess you have found a part of it that outweighs the financial benefit.
Yes. Well, I was never attracted to sort of working in the city or big corporate law, mostly because I didn't have the mental ability, it felt like. So perhaps I was lucky on that front. And I didn't have the get up and go to be working, however many dozen 16-hour days, and desire to do so. And I wanted to do something that mattered, that worked, right? That contributed to this world and the people, and
Not everyone. I think not everyone sees it that way. You've seen it at the end, eventually. But one of the reasons I'm doing these videos, as someone who feels like yourself but doesn't know how to navigate that terrain, perhaps might learn a thing or two. But looking back,
if at university I had the whatever it is, the elasticity to sort of work through my sort of struggles with applying myself and concentrating, all the things which I struggled with, and feeling good about myself. Right, I was fairly low at a low ebb at university. I might well have got up and said, "Right, I'm going to do these exciting things, go and be a lawyer," or whatever it might have been, which a lot of my peers were doing. But perhaps, by the grace of God, I didn't.
But the drive came on later on, because you have found a drive and a passion for something else much more worth.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And looking back, do you think it's the right?
Yeah, definitely. There are things I wish I had done, perhaps. Looked at the army and perhaps wish I'd gone into the army. But that would have been with a similar calling, I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
And do they offer like career professional development training? Do you belong to a body? Like, do you work in isolation, or is it part of a?
I work for Oxford Community Church.
But as a youth work, not for who you work for. Like, for example, if you are a doctor, you work for General Medical Council, you can work for the
I'm not a member of a
body.
professional body or trade union or anything like that.
Okay, but I'm sure you know other.
I could be
workers.
if I wanted to be.
Oh,
absolutely.
Did they actually have youth worker professional bodies existing?
There is a body which looks after us, a National Youth Agency, which gives us advice and we can work through things with, and COVID legislation has been interpreted by them. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, fine. Okay,
yeah.
So there is that support.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because sometimes you need
if one
that
wants it or needs it.
professional,
yes.
Especially when you deal with young people and the parents, you have that family social dynamic that can go haywire if you're not supported.
Yes, right.
Okay, cool. Any questions?
Any questions? Yes, okay. So one must always have a question. At the end of an interview, one must always have a question. I've prepared one. This isn't an interview, but
No, I always give the floor to people. Well, I try to. Not everyone has had opportunity, but you've had one.
You've been volunteering with us for a while. What's the thing that draws you most to doing youth work?
So a few things. One, I have siblings who are young.
Yeah.
And I see the challenges that they've gone through and become adults, and I see similar challenges to these young adults, perhaps not with the same opportunities.
Yeah.
And it's not costing me anything to give an hour or two.
Yeah.
To see that someone is able to have a space where they can play, have fun, ask questions.
Yes.
And make decisions that leave lasting impressions on them. They are our future. Yeah, I always say, if you want to know what your future looks like, don't speak to any soothsayer or tarot card reader. That they are walking around.
Yes.
That's your future. So
right. That's
if
good.
you
I like
treat
that.
them bad or you don't support them, they will be the ones making decisions in political settings, economical settings. They will be the ones, coming up. So they are where you want to do your investment.
Yes.
That's how it's invest your time, your money, your presence.
As a teacher or parent or
regardless.
A member of a neighborhood.
Absolutely. And I'm not a teacher, I'm not a parent, but I have time.
Yes.
I'm also a young person, so I want to see a brighter future for them and for myself. And if it means giving an hour or two a week to brighten someone else's future, someone has done that for me and I've appreciated it. A few decisions away, I would have been doing something completely different, and yet someone took their time. I used to go for camping, youth clubs, when I was back home, part of the Sunday school, things to engage young people. It's difficult these days. You're on your phone all the time. There's so many distractions around, and you find out that there is very few wholesome outlets out there for young people, and you don't want to get to the point where things have gone so bad and you wish someone had sat you down, or there was a video you could have watched to learn one or two things that could have influenced a decision you wanted to make. And so that's, for me, that's my drive, that's my passion for working with young people. One, I love young people. I find them interesting.
Yeah.
If you want to learn how to be patient, there's some people you want to work with, young people. They really do test you, but you get the joy out of them, working with some of them, making hot chocolates, seeing them come out of the shell and being more open and vulnerable, and it makes it worthwhile.
Yes.
So
good stuff.
that is my passion for doing it. And again, thank you so much for joining me on my channel.
Oh, great pleasure.
Do subscribe, Daniel. Have you subscribed to my channel? I'm seeing you on the spot, yeah.
I will subscribe.
And watch and pass it on to anyone who
subscribe.
might be interested. Thank you very much.
If you subscribe, I will.
I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.